That meme is so funny. Okay, guys. Well, today is a special day. We are going. The United States is going to issue a test in about 15 minutes here, and it is going to make a sound. I don't know. I commented on that video when you turn a lobby, get somebody in COD. I thought, that skill to me when you turn somebody, when you turn the entire lobby of COD against each other and they don't focus on you. Light cigarette. Not even a cigarette, it's a blunt. Hold on. United States civilians, we will represent our people. Meanwhile, the feds in the offices, high on their freaking meds on dementia. Oh no, damn it. I don't know. Hold on. You know, it's called people. We will have a government that represents us that will never fail. The government literally high on dementia. I found somebody that joined our server and dipped. Our ARK server, and I've jailed him. So if you see this random body in the back of our boat, it's in a box. That's typical. Da 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 da. Let's call it me. Eats off of orange piece of Fiestaware. Cancer be like. Oh, by the way, refresher. On November the 15th, 2023, Teardown will finally be releasing for consoles. And if you don't know what this game is, I'll say it is Just Cause 3 x Minecraft and Terraria. You can destroy everything. Teardown. Search up Teardown Black Hole. It is the most satisfying video. Or satisfying videos. Teardown. Black Hole. Like... Oh, it's on PC right now. It's been on PC for like 3 years. Yeah, but don't worry. $30 is all it'll take. Can I pre-order it? I cannot. Release! Coming soon. Okay, so update. Without the scrap ingots, we have produced 10,838 ingots. Oh, Christ! Oh my god! Oh, that scared me. New fear unlocked. I slouched back my chair and it almost fell out from under me again. Okay, I want to look at this. Rockwell Recipes Medical Brew. It says consumable. Does that mean that if I brew the ingredients, the recipe will just, like, Thanos snap out of my hands? Recipe, let's go. Do survivor stats how affect the outcome. Any survivor can cook of these recipes at any time with nothing more than the cook of choice. Eight minutes. I'm just waiting for the thing. Like I've seen videos on Teardown of like people like dropping nukes. I've seen them like do black holes where it just sucks everything up. But it's satisfying because it's not like when the buildings get ripped apart, they get ripped in squares. No, they get ripped in like chunks. Like imagine if you built a Minecraft house, how it comes apart in blocks. It's almost like that, but the blocks are super small in this game compared to Minecraft at least. No. Oh. Yeah, 5 minutes. What are you doing? Yeah, leaves or like buttons or slabs will work. Even upside down slabs. Interesting. Four minutes. Three minutes. Mm-hmm. At least it's not like just cost 3 trophies. Two minutes. Make sure my headphones are not bounded to the Oh shoot! There it goes. There it goes. My iPad didn't receive it yet. This is a test of National Wireless Emergency Alert System. The purpose is to maintain improved alert and warning capabilities at the federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial levels and evaluate the nation's public alert. No action is required by the public. My iPad didn't get it. It's probably a delayed response. Just wait. Did you get it? Like, did you have a phone or anything nearby? It's probably delayed. Like, for example, they said like 220. Usually with these what happens to these signals is that they can be delayed. My iPad didn't get it. It's 220. Nothing happened to my iPad. My iPad did not get affected by the test. If you want to join, you're more than welcome to. Oh, this is taking forever to smelt. Mm-hmm. 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 R/ I don't work here, lady. I attacked him and he bled on me.
This happened over 18 years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I had worked for a law firm in a clerical role for about 3 years. Though I wasn't a lawyer, I ended up doing a lot of work that lawyers normally handle, but not for lawyer pay. Anyway, I landed my dream job in another field that was more interesting, had better hours, better benefits, double the pay. I hit the jackpot. And I was on my second to last day at the law firm, having respectfully given and honored my 2 weeks notice. As it happened, I needed to take an extended lunch break one day to handle some business related to my pending new job. I arranged it ahead of time and even came in 2 hours early to make sure all my work was completed on time.
Hold on. Oh, shoot. Oh, God, that scares me. No idea why, but my Argentavis is outside. I thought it died there for a second. I'd say, like, oh, boy, if we just lost my Argentavis. I'd be so irate. Oh, yeah, it wasn't any help. Well, Wyatt, I'm glad to say this, but I feel like as of the day before yesterday, as of Sunday, I think the Central Mountains or the Red Peaks metal has been completely extracted. Which means we move on to the other and last mountain. Yep, that guy's... Oh my god. Please. Why? I hate these. I just hate these rocks.
Man, I was too conscientious. Anyway, my lunch business took me longer than expected, and I returned about an hour later than planned. No big deal, right? I had very little left to do and only 2 more days at the job anyway. Nope. The HR manager found me as I got to my desk, called me to her office, and fired me on the spot. I managed not to smile and thank her because I was thrilled to have an extra couple of days off before heading to my new position. I had a little spring in my step as I walked to my desk to pack up my stuff. I can neither confirm nor deny that I was whistling a happy tune. In truth, there was only one thing that I still needed to do on my final 2 days. Though I wasn't a lawyer, I essentially took care of all the estate planning clients. Wills, advanced medical directives, and such. I'd take all the info from the clients, generate all the forms, check the compliance with all the laws, and hand it to the attorney. He'd skim it, sign it, and bill his hourly rate for the hours I worked. It was a cash cow for the firm because I made next to nothing. Anyway, though I was good at the work, the files were rather a mess. Let's just say my system worked for me, but I was eclectic. As I was packing my desk, I left them piled in a box on the floor. Moments before I was preparing to walk out of there for the last time, the young attorney who had been assigned to take over that part of my work came up to my desk. He said, "The HR manager told me to come find you and have you show me the estate planning files. She said you'd show me what I need to do." I had the incredible pleasure of being able to look at him and say, with the most sincere and innocent tone, "I'm sorry, I don't work here." Then I pointed at the pile of files and suggested the HR manager would have to help him. Then I picked up my box of personal effects and walked away. And just as sweet as could be, I poked my head into the HR manager's office on my way out to assure her that there was no hard feelings and to let her know that the young attorney would probably be looking for her. Honestly, how was this HR manager expecting things to go? "You're fired, but before you go, could you do one last thing?" Actually,
no, you're fired
no,
if you're fired.
Go screw yourself. Our next Reddit post is from the Quarantinian. Hospital food isn't crunchy. For whatever reason, none of it has a good, satisfying crunch. The crunchiest thing they seem to have is Raisin Bran, and that just doesn't do the trick. And after a week of being held captive by tubes and wires, I was ready for food that was actually satisfying to chew. Finally discharged, I stopped off at a humongo chain grocery store for my craving. Don't judge, but all I wanted was a bowl of corn checks and freezing ice-cold milk. With a handbasket containing my crunchy treat, I was rifling through the milk section looking for the coldest jug with the latest expiration date they had, when a Karen lit up my life in exactly the same way that a swarm of locusts blot out the sun. She was wearing some kind of dark, expensive-looking pants and a dazzling white over-borax silk blouse with draping folds that just screamed, "I have more money than you." I was bending over with my head stuck in the cooler, and I could hear her talking about how we were out of some organic, grass-fed, free-range, no-hormone royal cows that exclusively make milk for rich people. I think this stuff sells at around $12 a gallon. And the big grocery store keeps all that stuff in their pretentious section where freezers are filled with $10 microwave dinners, $6 designer chips, and tiny cans of artisanal Sprint water carbonated with mermaid farts. At any rate, I'm not in that section, I don't work there, I don't care about her, so I ignore her. Big mistake on her part. Suddenly, it sounds like there's a snake hissing in my ear the words, "You will look at me when I'm talking to you."
No,
and my wrist is grabbed and pulled. Now, I had just been released from a week at the hospital where I was on, among other things, a heparin drip. Blood thinner. It was constantly fed through an IV tube which had been taped to my wrist. Exactly where she was now grabbing me. The tube had been taped down, and when I ripped off the bandages before I left the hospital room, there was still some significantly sticky tape gunk in the area. Whatever that stuff is, it usually takes 3 showers and a bottle of alcohol to get rid of all that sticky stuff. What else might stick to tape residue? How about a Karen's fingers? She grabbed my wrist and yanked my arm up, but her fingers happened to stick to the skin a bit, resulting in 2 things. The sensation of her getting some pine sap on her skin, and my skin being twisted far more than she expected. Not that she would have cared anyway. The twisting and pulling of the skin released a bit of blood from the IV site. Just a couple of drops, not really a big deal, but enough so that when she felt the sticky gunk on her fingers, she instinctively wiped her hand on her sleeve, leaving a small trail of blood on that field of spotless white. You know how some people pass out at the sight of blood? I mean, I don't, but she sure did. She dropped, like her facade of friendliness drops if her triple whipped ice spice happy no-fat soy mocha at Starbucks isn't served on a silver tray balanced on the back of a unicorn. And that's when the staff started to run up. Typical shouts of, "What happened? Call an ambulance," followed, with Milady regaining consciousness within a minute or so and starting to scream about how I, the store employee, had thrown blood on her.
I attacked you and you bled on me. I'm gonna sue you.
4 out of 5 customers can find a quality plan
Wrong,
for
you can't be that
$10 or
brain
less
dead.
per month with financial help. Enroll in a plan today at healthcare.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Clawing at her blouse and going into absolute hysterics. Store security had arrived and was glaring at me Fortunately, I had an ace just a few inches up my sleeve. I said, "This lady grabbed me and it really hurts." The thing about heparin is that it's the only drug that can go into a specific IV site. I needed many other IVs in the hospital, so I had another IV site just a few inches up my arm where they'd been injecting all kinds of other things. And that site looked ugly. A bruise the size of a silver dollar, brown and yellow and green, as if a parrot had binged on Tricks and Lucky Charms and threw it up in a ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese. Previously hidden under my sleeve, I made sure it wasn't hidden now and displayed that bruise of honor like a middle-aged man displays a trophy yoga instructor in his convertible. I said, "She grabbed my arm because I wasn't paying attention to her and yanked. She left this bruise and it really hurts." That, coupled with the hospital armband I hadn't yet cut from my wrist, seemed to be all that I needed to turn the tide of opinion to my favor. I gave a statement to the police who had eventually arrived, told them I wanted to press charges, got my milk, and headed for the door. A few days later, I received a call from a detective or a prosecutor or somebody, and they told me that they had come to a plea agreement of some kind fairly quickly. Impact statement to have it done within a week. I told them that as long as something went onto a record, I was fine. The crunch was indeed satisfying. Man, I would have loved to have seen Karen try to defend herself to the cops. After I assaulted her, she attacked me by throwing blood at me. Our next Reddit post is from Ligamentary. I worked in a large department store back before there was an Etsy or any similar service for artists to open up independent shops. I worked in the back office administration piece, not out on the floor. One day, one of the checkout girls called me over and said they were trying to scan a lady out, but one of her items didn't have a barcode. I figured maybe it had been stuck on somewhere strange, but I checked it out and I didn't see anything. In fact, I didn't even recognize the item when I looked to see where I could find a second one to scan. And I knew the store pretty well. It was an absurdly hideous piece of almost homemade-looking costume jewelry. Not like anything we offered. I thought maybe we had a new supplier I was unaware of, so I looked at the tag, and lo and behold, it was a hand-drawn price tag. So definitely not ours. There were a lot of shops in the area, so I figured someone bought it nearby and it slipped out of their bag, or they set it down by accident, and this customer assumed we were selling it because of the price tag. I figured that whoever left it would be back for it soon, because it was way overpriced. $80 for one necklace. So I brought it to customer service and returned to business as usual, of counting minutes to close and regretting my life choices. But as...
Hello? Wyatt. There is an otter, and it's swimming close to me. Oh my god. Adorable. That's what it is. It's adorable. Look at it. Look at it.
Day marched on. A few more people appeared with similar stuff. More jewelry, mostly. One with a sweater that was actually a sweater that we did sell, but it had huge, garish rhinestones added on that were definitely not an SKU we offered. People kept coming to check out with lots of things we actually sold, like makeup mirrors, handbags, and shoes, but all with unnecessary rhinestones, sequins, and beads glued on that definitely didn't come from us or the original manufacturer. So, finally, the manager just had the staff do a sweep of the store and collect anything with rhinestones on it, or anything with a handmade price tag, and put them in lost and found. Though, we did wonder how someone's personal belongings would become scattered all throughout the store, and we didn't think they could have really been accidentally lost. Our working theory was that someone got in a fight with their shopping companion and did it out of spite, like maybe a couple broke up or a sibling rivalry or something. But we resigned ourselves to the fact that we never know. Our lost and found was a single basket about the size of a TSA security bin at the airport, and there was so much of this stuff that it overflowed past the top, so after a couple of days, we dumped it all in the trash. A few days after that, a middle-aged woman comes in decked out head to toe in sequins and glitter and rhinestones, with neon makeup like what a 6th grader would wear to their first school dance, and asked to speak to the person in charge, identifying herself as one of your partners. I knew we were about to get some answers to the other day's mystery. I stopped all my work. I was ready to hear how and why she ended up leaving half of her wardrobe scattered around, and why anyone would voluntarily dress like that after age 40. So I listened to her going at it with customer service, and it became clear that she had bought things here. At least, I think so. It wasn't clear if she had paid for things, or if she had just used things from here without paying for them. She then bedazzled them, either by purchasing them or covertly bedazzling in the store without buying the items. We never did find out which. She then put them back on the shelves, and now expected to collect a check after they were purchased, at the upsell price that she had added on with her handmade price tag. Apparently, she had done this in a few other stores and was going around with business cards claiming that her designs were sold in big department stores.
Oh my god.
Like the card would read, Karen's Fab Designs, as seen on the shelves of Macy's, Nordstrom's, JCPenney, and more. The manager explained that this was not a consignment store, and she couldn't just leave altered products here for people to buy and expect to split the money with us. She was sure that we must just not understand that she had improved the items with rhinestones, thereby making them more valuable. And was shocked when the realization set in that we understood what she was saying, but still didn't want her doing it. She was irate, offended, threatened to break off the partnership. that we didn't
Oh,
want
no.
and didn't know that we had, and eventually she demanded her stuff back. The most senior manager of the floor had come over by this point. Not because she asked to speak to the person in charge, but because she was causing a scene, and because none of us were sure what to do about being on her business card. Plus, because everyone, regardless of seniority, was equally curious about the rhinestones mystery. The senior manager explained that we'd gotten rid of the stuff because she didn't bother to explain this arrangement to any of us. And we aren't a pawn shop where you can hawk personal goods. A major argument ensued. She gave us two choices. Go through the dumpster and salvage the things you threw out, or refund me the adjusted cost of the items you threw out.
No.
The manager then gave her two choices: leave or be escorted out by security. The manager did worry that there could be repercussions for throwing out all of her stuff, since technically corporate policy was that we're supposed to hang on to lost and found items for 7 business days. So he offered her some coupons to end things on a good note. She didn't take them and screamed at us that we needed to replace everything and pay for the new material to rebedazzle them. At that point, the manager more
What do you want, like 2 balls of glitter and some, like, toy stones?
Security had to escort her out. To our total shock, she kept telling security that she worked there, and it really confused them, because they'd never seen her, so they weren't sure if it was because she was crazy or if it was because she was corporate. That is, someone who could fire them. We had to explain to security and to her that, in fact, she did not work here, and this partnership was non-existent. Again, we explained that she couldn't sell her own products here in our department store. She kept saying, "We can negotiate you a higher cut. That was just my starting offer." So after a bit, the manager just gave up on explaining and stopped engaging with her. She tried to come in every day for a week after that, to the point that we had to get a security guard stand right near the door to redirect her before she could even step over the threshold. She got in one more time through the fire door, which set off the fire alarm, and we had to evacuate the store. So we let her know loud and clear that the next time the police would handle her. I guess some other stores had already made good on that promise, so she stopped coming. But she kept doing this elsewhere around town for several weeks until she was blacklisted by every store, from the highest end boutiques to the dollar store. I don't know if she just didn't understand how extra stores worked or just didn't care, but she really created a lot of extra work for us. I will say this. Many people were coming to the register to purchase her items, and that department chain is bankrupt now, so she probably has a lucrative Etsy-type store and the last laugh. I read a lot of r/I don't work here lady stories, but I think this is the first r/you don't work here lady story. That was r/I don't work here lady, and if you like this content, then be sure to check out my podcast where I publish...
Tell a parent, let me copy you, or I'm telling the teacher. Oh god, I love entitled people because they're just punching bags, verbal punching bags.
Where an entitled father gets his pants pulled down in public and publicly humiliated. Right now, I'm feeling proud of myself for doing something wild. This last weekend, my wife and I decided to visit her family. They live in a much larger city than we do, and we go now and again to break up the monotony. On Saturday, my wife and her sister wanted to go shopping at one of the larger malls in the area. Not wanting to do nothing alone, I tagged along. At this point, while listening to their girl talk, I decided to grab a bite, so I told my wife and headed to the food court. At this point, the lunch rush was still going on, so the place was fairly packed. I decided on Chinese food, a place I'd been to before, so trusted that the food was good. So I got in line to wait like anyone else. This particular restaurant was pretty simple. It had 4 cashier lanes and grills behind it where you could watch the cooks make your order while you wait. But being a Chinese place, it took longer than the typical fast food place, so the lines were moving slowly. While waiting, my phone died. I simply forgot to charge it earlier. So I started people watching the crowd to avoid getting bored. Nothing out of the ordinary until I noticed entitled dad with 2 boys a little bit ahead of me in the line next to me. The 2 boys, maybe around 11 and 9, must
There's
have
a
been
bunch of metal nodes on this other
because
mountain.
They would periodically start to screw around or bug entitled dad, occasionally pushing each other around or asking when they would have food. Entitled dad looked like he was growing more agitated by the minute. Every time he had to turn to deal with these 2, his face grew
Frozen
redder and redder. Understand, dear reader, that this was a busy, loud area, and they weren't being super loud, so they didn't really attract attention yet. I did, however, have to turn away now and again.
Dude, there's a ton of
avoid
metal
being
on this
noticed,
mountain,
though.
Wyatt.
The trouble started when Entitled Dad finally reached his turn. The girl politely did the usual and asked him for his order. But instead of just ordering, Entitled Dad started to complain. Mainly about how long he and the two boys were in line for. She did her best to be polite, but he just kept going for a few minutes. By this time, the gentleman behind the trio was also getting annoyed. He noticed me and gestured to Entitled Dad with the, "You gotta be kidding me" look. So I just responded with a shrug. As far as I knew, he wasn't wrong. If Entitled Dad was in such a hurry, why not just get your food and be done with it? Eventually, the girl at the register was able to get the order. I was now second in place in my line and right next to the two kids by this point. I could hear the angry Entitled Dad go into a tirade about the performance of the restaurant and insist that if it wasn't for his kids wanting it, they would have gone to a better place. About how this other Japanese place was better, but was currently closed because they had to suffer through this. Entitled Dad even started to insult the poor girl behind the counter. The gentleman behind Entitled Dad and the two boys tried to tell Entitled Dad off, telling him that they're just doing their best, but Entitled Dad shot back with a typical, "I'm a paying customer, so I can do what I want" excuse,
no, you can't.
and kept going. The girl was obviously growing upset as Entitled Dad was bullying her, and I could see tears start to form in her eyes. Entitled Dad just wouldn't give her a break. The gentleman behind the trio was also looking like he was getting ready to throw punches. At this moment, I thought that I really wanted to do something, but I didn't want to get into a fight, even if I had backup or ended up being the backup for someone else. That's when I noticed it. Entitled Dad was wearing cargo shorts, the kind that never seemed to fit right. I thought for a second and found an alternative idea. I found myself just reacting, and the whole thing took only a few seconds. I stepped forward in between Entitled Dad and the two kids, grabbed both side loops of the seat of his pants, and yanked as hard as I could. Without stopping, I immediately ran for it. I had to push through a lady in the last line, but I made it. I heard a lot of screaming behind me, but not wanting to get pummeled by an angry Entitled Dad, I didn't even look back. I ran to the other side of the mall where my wife was still shopping with her sister. I knew my wife enough to predict what stores they would be in. I felt safe enough in a girl's clothing store next to my wife, so after I caught my breath, I just started laughing. My wife asked, "WTF?" and I just told her I'd tell her later. I didn't want to spoil their shopping, so I spent the rest of the time keeping an eye out for an angry Entitled Dad. I did spot them at one point, now with a blonde lady and a little girl in tow, but that was it. I was lucky enough to avoid them. When we decided to go eat, the lunch rush was pretty much over, and I just had to know. I went back to the Chinese place, and luckily, the young girl was still there. So I purposefully waited behind an extra person for a chance to talk. When I got the chance, I asked her what happened to Entitled Dad. She told me that someone yanked his pants down mid-tirade. The guy who did the deed took off, but Entitled Dad couldn't catch him because the gentleman behind Entitled Dad took the opportunity to push Entitled Dad flat on his butt. The gentleman just insisted that he was trying to catch the culprit and missed. A lol. Then, Entitled Dad, being the official center of attention, just grumbled for the rest of the time. He got his food, paid, and sat down on the opposite side of the food court somewhere. I wanted to laugh, but just in case, I never told her it was me who did the pantsing, even though I really wanted to do so. I just took my order and joined my wife and her sister for lunch. I told my wife later, and we had a laugh. She scolded me for pulling such a stunt, but was proud of me for finding such a funny method for helping the cashier. OP, not all heroes wear capes.
Not all villains wear secure pants either.
Choose a biscuit with sausage and egg. Our next Reddit post is from Ducking Pancakes. Okay, let's start. For background, I went to school with Entitled Kid a very long time ago, and somehow I managed to get on his bad side. Entitled Kid didn't seem to like me and would use any possible excuse he had to torment me and make school a living heck. Before we started sitting together in this particular class, he had already been picking on me for years.
I hate
so
people.
I wasn't
I
excited.
had one of these kids in my school growing up. They were annoying as hell.
Entitled Kid wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, and he often copied other kids' answers. I didn't want to make his attitude
He's gonna
towards me any
mess
worse
up at a
than it
job. He's
already
probably
was,
gonna grow up to
so
use
I would
Chat
just play along
GPT.
and act like I didn't notice him looking over my shoulder. This went on for a while until one day teacher finally held us both back after class. This is basically how the conversation went. I've noticed both of you are getting similar scores on tests and are writing down the same answers in class. Would either of you like to admit to anything? As I didn't want to be called a snitch, I kept my mouth shut and hoped the other kid would learn his lesson. But nope, that's not how it works apparently. OP has been stealing my answers for months.
Oh my
It's
god.
so annoying. Actually, it's the other way around. Why didn't you say this before? She's just trying to blame it on me. It basically ended up with me in detention and Entitled Kid running free. Because the way it looked was as if he told the truth and I turned the tables on him. We were still sitting next to each other in class, so
My god, break!
my work. Then it came to the next test. I had heard something online.
Oh my god. I don't know if he did this, but if this was happening to me, if someone was copying my answers down, I'd purposely try to write down the wrong answers, and then after that, try to turn my test, see if I can get another one, and then the kid would have copied down his garbage answers, and he'd fail test.
Who got their revenge by ticking all of the answers wrong in pencil, then rubbing it out last minute and rewriting them in pen, and that is exactly what I did. I ticked every answer far from correct, to an extent where some of the answers were even quite dumb. And then, around 5 minutes to the end of the test, I went through again, rubbing out my answers and ticking the correct answers in pen. Also, intentionally covering most of my answers so that he struggled to copy them. Entitled Kid's expression was a mixture of anger and defeat, as he knew he couldn't do anything now. It was priceless. After the test, he came up to me looking pale and worried and asked me why I did it. I acted like I had no idea what he was talking about, and he stormed off angrily. We handed in the tests, and when they came back, I got a decent score as usual, and he failed miserably. The teacher even made a comment on how messy it looked when he scribbled out his answers. I bet you think this is the end. No, we're only getting started.
Yes.
This is Entitled Mother's time.
Yes!
It wasn't long after the test, maybe a week or so, when me and my parents were called into the school to attend a meeting with teacher, Entitled Kid, and Entitled Mom. This is how it went. The teacher said, Entitled Mother has contacted us about OP bullying Entitled Kid.
Oh my
OP,
god.
do you have anything you'd like to say?
Let me guess. She's gonna be like, my kid's the angel. He'll never do anything wrong. You're all incorrect. You guys are all bullies, and you should be arrested. Actually, no, I'm gonna sue you. She's gonna be one of those moms. I cannot take it. Thinks that the Entitled Kid is just a perfect angel, just a cute little muffin who will never do anything. No. Yeah. Like, their son could literally murder somebody, and the parents would be like, well, that was the murderers. That was the victim's fault. You see, they're wrong. No, your kid is pretty, not the sharpest tool in the shed. Let's just say that, okay?
Yes, what exactly did I do? You made Entitled Kid fail his test.
Well, he should have studied, loser.
Could you explain how OP managed to do that? Entitled Mother goes on to explain exactly what I did, and teachers suddenly realized who was really cheating off of who. So, your kid was cheating. No, he already knew all the answers anyway. It's just a waste of his time. Yes, entitled mother.
Oh yeah, why is he not in
told
call? It's like
teacher
Sheldon.
It was a waste of her dumb kid's time, while basically admitting that he cheated. But he was copying the answers anyway. Entitled mother didn't really have much to say.
If he's so smart, then yeah, why is he
Entitled
cheating?
kid was given a detention and left in a huff.
There's a ton of
I
metal
got
up
an
here.
apology from teacher for the detention I was put in. Our next Reddit post is from It's a Me Honey. So, a few weeks ago, I was in a grocery store, right? Nothing unusual. I had a particularly rough day, and so I wasn't in the mood for dressing up. Just a blue t-shirt from one of my old schools, shorts, and sneakers. I had just finished getting everything I needed when I got in line. That's when I saw Entitled Parent. Now, this woman only had 2 things in her cart. A toddler, a little boy who was probably around 3, and
There's a lot of metal up here.
way too much booze. I mean, like, the whole cart section of the cart was absolutely filled with bottles. Also worth mentioning that this woman, probably mid-30s, was wearing a hot pink crop top. Alright, that's pretty bad, but it's not my business, and I'm not in the mood to argue with someone. She pays for her things and begins to leave, so I begin to do the same. I'm at the card chip reader when I feel a tap on my shoulder.
Oh, no.
I turn around, and the trouble begins.
Karen spawns
Hello,
behind
ma'am.
you.
Can I help you? Yes, I was wondering if you could change your shirts. Me, dumbfounded. I'm sorry.
Oh, what?
What? Well, blue is not a girl's color, and I don't want my...
Oh, come on. Hey, ma'am? This isn't the 1960s. Who the hell cares? In a point, red could almost be considered a girl's color, and I like red. Red's pretty cool. Red is awesome. Red is the color of anger and love.
To get the wrong idea about what is acceptable to wear.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry, I will not
Yep,
be doing that.
crackhead.
If you want your son to learn those types of things, you can do it at your house.
Crackhead
but
alert.
I'm allowed to wear whatever I feel like wearing. Oh, don't be so unladylike. Just change out of that shirt.
Oh, my
I will
God.
if you give me one good reason. Blue is not for girls. Okay, well, crop tops aren't for witches, but...
Oh my God, if that happened to me, I would purposely, like, if they're like, pink is not a man's color, I would purposely try to find her address and walk by her on the street with a pink shirt. I would do it every day until I died. I would literally mail her a glitter bomb, or what's it called? Yeah, I'd mail her, like, saying, pink is for boys, blue is for girls, homie. Roses are red, violets are blue. No, roses are red, your city is gone. I am Thomas, the thermonuclear bomb. Yeah, give me a second.
Here.
Dude, there's a ton of metal on this. We might actually fill up.
Walked away. I heard her mutter something to the cashier as I left, but I couldn't hear her, and I honestly don't care. How is OP supposed to change her shirt at a grocery store? Like, who goes to the grocery store?
Blue is not for girls. But you want to like get a freaking
Reddit
public
post is from
exposure
Exhibition.
violation?
So, my significant other and I live in a high-rise in downtown Chicago. The way our building is set up, only the corner units get balconies, and the rest just have windows you can open. These balconies are 100% private and part of your unit. I pay for this, and it's great being able to go outside and not have another person sitting just to the left of me. Our neighbors who
Yeah, it's
are
like the
elderly
really
couple
walled
moved out
off
in April, and
ones,
the unit
yeah.
has been bought by a family of 3. The kid is about 3, and so far has been pretty quiet, or at least we can't hear her through the walls. Anyway, last night, I was coming in from the basement storage area with my dog and our small grill because it finally is warm enough to cook outside and enjoy it. The mom was...
Roses are red. I don't really like you. So what if I'm a girl? I'll always wear blue.
the hall and asked where I was going with the grill.
I just
and if
masturbated
there's a
up,
fire
it's
hazard
crazy.
inside, and I mentioned my balcony. Well, that's when she instantly begins her tirade about not being able to get to any of the public balconies on the floor. She had been trying all...
Why can't I trespass? I'm gonna sue you. How's that conversation gonna go?
And all were locked, mine included. Now, mind you, this is maybe the third time I've met this
I'm about
woman.
to
She has
put it
lived
in
here
public.
for about 2 months now, and she has been trying to get into our apartment to use the balcony.
That's
Our
just
door
rude.
is always locked. It's locked the second one of us gets home and stays locked. I tell her that the only public balcony type space is the roof deck, and she yells at me, says in her contract she has a balcony she can use, and demands to let her use
Does it
mine.
say in your contract
I
you can
just
be a
laughed,
really
and at this
annoying
point,
piece
my
of trash?
neighbor
No, it
across the
doesn't.
hall was coming home.
So why do you
He
continue
has
to be like
another
that?
of the 4 balconies and stopped to say
We might
hi
actually fill up our
amidst her
furnaces with
yelling
metal.
at me. She asks who he is, and he says her other neighbor across from me, and she goes into the same spiel with him. We both explained to her that no, she has no such thing in her contract or lease, and if she has an issue, to go talk with the door staff and ask them to go to management. She got mad and went inside at that point, and my across-the-hall neighbor and I just laughed about it and talked about the new Zelda game coming out. Our next Reddit post is from Oceanic Blue. So, my husband A and I were invited to Entitled Mother's kid's first birthday by Entitled Mother's
Oh
husband.
boy.
It was all well and good until Entitled Mother gave us the rules a couple days before the
Oh
birthday.
yes,
They
the
were
rules.
rules. No drugs or alcohol,
Okay.
decent attitude, except for one rule. It said, anyone attending this birthday party must not have passionately hugged for the month prior and must not have passionately hugged for a week after. My husband and I were weirded out by this, since it was almost all adults attending. Most were married.
So, no, the rules of the party. You may not have had after a month before the party, and you're not allowed to have like a week after. What? No, like you're not supposed to like have not do the funny. You can't do the funny after we got what? What?
And I were no exception.
Mhm.
And like any normal married
Mhm.
couple, passionate hugging was a thing we did. We decided not to go since us going would break that rule. On the day of the birthday party, Entitled Mother sent out a group text to us and a bunch of other people asking where we were. A good amount of people said they were breaking that rule. Entitled Mother got mad at all of us for being
I'm in the server.
sinners.
Oh,
and
shut up
blocked
about that
all
bull
our
crap.
numbers. 2 weeks later, she was found to be 5 weeks pregnant. Bewildered as to how she thought she could possibly enforce that rule. That was r/entitled parents. And
Let my
this-
kids steal from you, or I'm calling you.
Stress. It can come
What?
from all directions.
Ah! Well, I don't blame her. A bit.
Welcome to r/entitled parents, where a parent.
Where's the other?
Welcome to r/entitled parents, where an aunt tries to set up OP for an arranged marriage. About a week ago
God,
at the
I
gas
hate
station I work at, it
that.
was snowing pretty lightly and it was real chilly out. It was definitely bundle up weather. It had just about passed the 7 o'clock mark on my 2 to 10 shift and it was already pretty dark. Contextual bits. My gas station doesn't have public restrooms. All we have is a couple of porta potties around the right of the building. Not a lot of light over there, but it's better than nothing considering we're a couple dozen miles from regular civilization. This guy and his daughter, about 5 or 6, come into the gas station and have about a 10-second look around the place before looking at me and asking if they could use our bathroom. I say, we've only got porta potties around the right of the building. What? Not even for her? The porta potties are all we've got. It's frickin' freezing out there and there's hardly any light.
Who cares?
You're really gonna make her go out there? Sir, I've already told you that we don't have
Clearly.
anything but the porta potties. And unless you think she can hold it for a while, she's just gonna have to use it. Unbelievable. He grabs his kid's arm and goes outside.
Unbelievable, I know. Not
At
every
this point,
building
I
is
ticked
built
off
for you.
because,
Boo-hoo.
one, he just tried to guilt me using his daughter, and I hate when parents use their kids like that. And two,
Gunpowder.
he's dressed in a pretty snug overcoat and winter hat. She's wearing the thinnest pair of pajamas I'd ever seen. No coat, no gloves, no anything keeping her warm. They come back about 5 minutes later, and he's still huffing about the lack of public restrooms. Well, that was horrible. Cold and dark for a little girl. Yup. I'm being dismissive because I'd rather he just spew his nonsense and leave than try and prolong her being out in the weather like that. Finally, they both come up with their stuff and I start ringing them out. I notice how sad Quiet Child looks, and I lean down before Entitled Dad knows what's going on and ask her pretty plainly, "Would you like a sticker?" We keep a big folder of stickers for some of our regular kids. The quiet kid nods, shivering. I quickly
Aww.
grab a couple sets of the girliest stickers I can find and walk around for my register and crouch in front of her for display. She picks a sticker, a purple cat playing with yarn. I pat it down on her shirt and they leave. Entitled Dad totally silent and brooding. Moral of the story, dress your kids properly and maybe you won't have to worry about them being cold and upset. Man, OP, the depressing thing about this story is that you giving that girl that sticker might be the only warmth that girl experienced all day. Our next Reddit post is from Shy Girl Turned Sassy. When I was 22, my extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, etc. began asking me why I wasn't married yet. I spent my childhood and early 20s in a fairly conservative North Indian state, and people in those areas tend to be deeply misogynistic, and the only way a woman has any value in their eyes is if she's attached to a man. Her own accomplishments, talents, etc. are of no consequence. So it wasn't all that surprising when I began getting these ridiculous questions about marriage.
Oh my god. AI is gonna take over humanity. Also AI. A man has been oppressed by his local government. Quick, build the killdozer. Destroy the town.
While I was still in college, I'd recently lost a lot of weight, and for the first time, I actually looked good in jeans. My weight loss seemed to cause their queries to reach whole new levels of idiocy. You see, they all assumed that the only reason I'd lost weight was so I could land a husband. Surely I hadn't done it for the sake of my own health and well-being, or because I wanted to look good for myself. That would be preposterous. My friend, about whom you've read in previous posts, was friends with a matchmaker. Matchmakers in India are these grunty middle-aged women who have nothing better to do than to go around carrying photographs and info about eligible bachelors and bachelorettes and share them with the families of young men and women who are looking to marry them off. My aunt's friend was no different. She showed my aunt a picture of some guy in his late 20s who also had a great job and was from a respectable family. Let's call this guy AJ. My aunt shared the picture and the info with my grandmother. Between the two of them, they decided that AJ,
Let's go.
whom I never met before, would be the perfect
Planned marriage
match
is
for me.
such a scam.
Keep in mind that neither I nor my dad had any inkling of what was going on. One afternoon, I think it was Sunday, my aunt came over when I wasn't home. She told my dad to get your daughter dressed up and pretty because she'd promised me to a guy and his
Can't believe we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to expand. We're gonna have to make a proxy refinery.
The tone in which she spoke made it sound like she'd done me and my dad a big favor. My dad was
Running
shocked
from?
and asked what the hell she was talking.
Hey, get in, get in, get in. There's a car now.
She told him that she'd taken it upon herself to find a groom for me, without my knowledge or consent, and taken some of the burden off his shoulders. and that their mother, my grandmother, had approved of this match. My dad told her that he would have to speak to me first, and whether the guy's parents can come over or not depends on what I have to say about this. The little grunt actually tried to convince my dad that my consent wasn't necessary, and that as elders, they had every right to make this decision for me.
Wait, what?
But my dad wasn't having it. When I came home a few hours later, my aunt grew.
I have a good idea, Wyatt.
This was enough to send red flags flying everywhere. I asked her what was going on, and she gleefully told me what she'd done and how her proposition had my grandmother's
Damn,
blessings.
GG.
I told her to shove it up her butt, and that I was in no mood to have an arranged marriage. Not then, not ever. She looked shocked and asked how I could say such a thing after all the trouble she's been through in order to find such a wonderful young man for me. I decided to get dirty. I told her if the wonderful young man is making her so wet, why doesn't she go marry him? My dad heard this and told me to watch my language. I told him I would if this jerk knew her place and knew not to poke her nose where it doesn't belong. My grandmother heard the commotion from her room and called out to my dad. She began telling him about how she had seen the guy's picture and the matchmaker had told them all about his family, and how a match like this may not come along again. My dad told her that he would never force his daughter to marry if she doesn't want to. My stepmom said the same. I merely told her that she was insane and belongs in a lunatic asylum. This, of course, caused both Grand Monster and Crazy Aunt to fake cry and go on and on about how my dad doesn't trust them to make the right decision for his daughter, and that they were family, and family has the right to make decisions for each other.
No, I don't.
What the actual F? I wasn't going to
Here,
budge,
so let's wait.
however, and-
Wait, you know what? Wait. Here's my decision. How about you F off?
Wasn't going to meet the guy or his parents, and my aunt had better cancel the meeting if she knows what's good for her. My aunt left our house grumbling. But the drama was far from over. My grand monster, in order to emotionally blackmail my dad into agreeing to the match, with or without my consent, stopped eating. Anytime food was brought to her, she would break into crocodile tears and whine about how my dad was dishonoring her wishes. As she was diabetic, her health began to deteriorate. My dad was scared. One evening, he and my stepmom sat me down and asked if I would consider the proposal and just have a meeting with AJ's family. I was still adamant and said no. My aunt came over and said she had great news, as AJ's parents were still interested in meeting me and they would allow me to study and have a career after I married their son. I asked her what part of the word no did she not understand the last time we spoke, and who the F do AJ's parents think they are to allow me to do anything? My aunt once again flew into an impotent rage and asked how I could be so selfish, how I could disobey my family like this, and some other BS about how marriage is a union between families and not just...
Wow, didn't even land a hit on me.
In her days, girls were married off as soon as they reached adulthood, whether they
Wow.
wanted it or not.
That's
I let her
creepy.
go on for some time, as her little hissy fit was quite amusing to me. After she had exhausted herself, I told her that if she, Grand Monster, or even my parents even try to force me into this marriage, I was going to cut my wrists. And if I survived, the cops would know that I did it because I was being forced to marry against my will. And all involved would be...
That's awful. I hate rearranged marriages,
Even if
dude.
I died, I would leave behind enough evidence in the form of emails to all my friends and college professors detailing how I was being mentally tortured so I could be forced into this marriage. Both outcomes would result in all of them in deep legal trouble.
$702? Damn, that's a lot of damage. Yeah, with a crossbow? 702? That was a headshot though, but still.
I even showed them the email I'd already written. All I had to do was send it. And if any of them even think of locking me up and taking away my phone, laptop, etc., They should remember that my vocal cords still work, and I would gather the entire neighborhood with my screams, and cops would surely be called. As I spoke, my aunt's eyes kept getting wider and wider. She was in shock, but she knew me well enough to know that I was very capable of doing all this. She left quietly. Grand Monster must have heard every word because her hunger strike came to an end. My aunt never tried to look for a match for me again. Later, my dad told me that he was only asking me to think about the match and that he would never force me to do something I didn't want to do. I told him I knew that and assured him that my threats were only meant to scare my aunt. And they worked. Down in the comments, there are tons of stories from other people who live in India who explain that they also have family members who tried to get them in an arranged marriage. So apparently this type of entitled parent attitude is pretty common in India. Our next Reddit post is from Black Panda. My mother has terminal cancer, and due to financial constraints, she decided to move in with me and my family. As soon as my mother arrived here, we visited my lawyer and began and completed her will and power of attorney. She doesn't want life support or anything and has a do not resuscitate. My aunt, my mom's sister, decided to call me and it got interesting. Hi, OP. I wanted to see how your mother's doing because she doesn't tell me anything. She's good, same as always. Well, have you two discussed her dying wishes? Yes, it's all taken care of. What is it that you need? Well, when the time comes, can you call me so I can get a flight to be with her when she passes? When the time comes, I'll notify everyone. Okay, well, make sure you do everything you can do so I can be with her. What do you mean? Like life support? She has a do not resuscitate and doesn't want that. But as soon as it's closed, I'll make phone calls. Hopefully everyone can make it. I don't think you understand me. If she's passing, you need to put her on life support so I can be with her.
No, what's it called? I think, in my opinion, if you say do not resuscitate me, do not resuscitate me. If I am dying, right, and I say do not resuscitate, I want to die, okay? And it's called. And that do not resuscitate primarily affects the person that has the order. Like, if I want to die and I don't want to suffer, I shall die, okay? As grim as it sounds, everybody should respect the thing. Like, if I had a do not resuscitate order, it should definitely be respected. Because how do you know? Because like, I get it. She doesn't want to be resuscitated because she just doesn't want to suffer. I wouldn't want to suffer and die. That's an awful way to go, man.
Your power of attorney, and when she's in that state, she won't know the difference.
I'm dumbfounded by what she said. No, that's not how it works. It's already on file with the hospital and doctors, signed and legalized. Even if I wanted to, I can't.
You're selfish.
I'm pretty sure you
You're
don't
selfish.
How this works, but it's
For
okay.
imposing
We'll talk when it comes close to that.
such an awful
You're the
thing.
most selfish, arrogant human being I've ever met. You have no idea how much I'm suffering.
You aren't suffering and you need to stop. My mother has terminal cancer. She's living in a constant state of pain. You live in your home, which is now paid off, with one of your sons and his girlfriend and their 3 kids. You were using my mother's home as your home. You took her benefits for food and used it for yourself and your family. You drove her car for 2 years and never had to pay for anything. It doesn't matter if I could pay her property taxes and bills. She wanted to come here to be with me and my family. She wanted a closer bond with her granddaughter before she dies. She's choosing how she dies and where she wants to be buried. Why are you calling me anyway?
I am recording this conversation and I'll use it as proof that you're trying to kill her for the insurance money.
Oh
The
my
fact
God.
that you won't keep her alive is murder.
I hung up on her.
Let's go. Would you rather die? Right? Like, would you rather like just die outright? You know, just die outright, or would you rather be kept alive while you're slowly dying, you're slowly suffering, just having the worst experience you can have as a person? Because between suffering and a quick end, I'd rather take some cyanide.
Before she went full crazy like always. I had her on speaker this entire time, and my mom listened to the entire conversation. My mother was in shock and began crying because my mother and I always had a rough relationship due to my aunt always lying about me. This is where it gets good. My aunt calls my mother sobbing, and I mean sobbing, and begins telling her all types of lies about this conversation. My mother quietly listened to the blatant lies and ended the conversation like this. Aunt, I was listening the whole time that OP had you on speaker. I know everything. It's a shame that you caused so much destruction between my only child and I for so long. I'm glad that at the end of all this, he still took me in. I've done so much for you, and now I see it's just jealousy because it wasn't all about you. When I die, I don't want you to come to his home. You can be at my burial in Mexico, but don't come here. He doesn't want you here, and he's too kind and empathetic to my disease to tell you no. But I'm going to say no. I'm sorry that this will be our last conversation we'll ever have. My mother hung up and blocked her number. The greatest part of all this, my mother said all this to her while drinking her morning coffee and eating her toast without a beat. Our next Reddit post is from Sumo Ninja. We had a couple hundred cars and other motor vehicles stored at any given time. The neighborhood kids, older teens, some were actually adults, liked to break in and steal personal items left in the cars.
Anyway, we got the
radios,
refinery
GPS
extended.
units,
8
etc.
extra units
If they
have
stole
been
the
added.
radio out of the dash, they'd rip the dash apart, so we'd have to replace the radio and repair the dash. It would be a very expensive repair. We had a 6-foot-high fence topped with razor wire and an alarm. They'd find ways over it. Usually they'd throw a mattress on the razor wire and hop over using a car. To protect ourselves, we put up an electric fence inside our security fence, the one topped with a razor wire. The electric fence was 6 feet inside the outer fence. Neighborhood parents decided they were up in arms about our complete disregard for their little fuck trophies. The local councilman and police lieutenant came to me asking what we could do to calm the neighbors.
Now, maybe, what's it called? Maybe electrical fences are a little bit far, but listen. Careful. This should be fun for you. Fire! Uh-oh, uh-oh. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, oh boy.
The electric fence was installed with the blessing of the local government, fully permitted and licensed. I told the politician, he was a real mouthpiece, that we would not be disarming or removing the fence. He told me the neighbors were very, very concerned for their children. I asked him which neighbors were most vocal. He told me. I looked at the cop and told him those were the kids to look into when there were burglaries and thefts in the area. The politician asked why. I told him the parents most worried about their kids were the ones that had kids they knew were climbing the other fence and stealing and vandalizing cars. Then I took them to show the fence. You would seriously think the councilman would have taken a closer look at the setup, but he only looked at the big yellow high voltage warning signs. When we got to the storage facility, the cop laughed. The councilman looked like he walked in on his wife in bed with his best friend. He was mad and surprised at the same time. They looked at the setup. The electric fence was 2 full steps inside the property. There was no way to accidentally contact it from the sidewalk. The only way to get to it would be to climb the outer security fence. The kids weren't allowed in there, ever, under any circumstances. It didn't take long for the councilman to learn that he had been played by the neighbors. The cop was fairly entertained. He actually laughed. Then the cop said something politically correct and left. I looked at the cop and we talked about the families that were really upset about the fence. They outed themselves as the suspects in a number of crimes. One of the older kids would shoot someone about 2 years later. He would actually get caught on a stolen ATV from our other location. The cop chuckled and said, "Now I have to figure out what to say to the parents of these crooks." I said tell them I want to know if they prefer their delinquents regular or extra crispy. I want to know what argument these entitled parents used. "How dare you threaten my children when they were stealing from your property? If anything happens to my precious..."
Why are you messing with a T-Rex?
Operation.
Okay. Uh-oh. You pissed off T-Stroyer. Turn around. God damn it, Wyatt. Get off the T-Rex. Okay, never mind. Get it on. Okay, get back on the T-Rex. That was a level 32. Oh, thank. Whew. Really? Can I please get on my Rex? Oh, that. Oh, you're on it. I'm like, okay. I thought he was glitching. That wasn't that you.
The major difference was that we closed at 8 p.m. instead of midnight. Because I stocked the shelves, even though we closed at 8 p.m., I would usually be scheduled until 9 or 10 p.m. depending on the night. And I would spend the last hour or two of my shift stocking the shelves while listening to my iPod. Also, during the time of this story, my store was undergoing a pretty significant and much needed remodel. So one night, probably about 10 minutes or so after we closed, I was stocking some hair shampoo, and I felt a tap on my shoulder which scared the bejesus out of me. I turned around, and I came face to face with an angry customer. I paused my music and took my headphones off, and the woman immediately half screams, "I can't believe they'd let you listen to music while working." I told her,
Don't come to my restaurant, though.
10 minutes ago. She responded with,
The cook at my restaurant listens to music all the time, and he gets stuff done. He's like a god at cooking, too.
I sighed and told her that
He goes
we're all
fast,
baby
and he
wipes.
cooks
She
good food.
rolled her eyes and said, "You can't just check the bag for me. It'll only take 2 minutes." I looked her dead in the eye and told her, "No, I won't go check the back because I know for a fact that we don't have any and we closed 10 minutes ago." She huffed and whined. "So you're not going to help me?" And
No,
I reiterated,
we closed. I mean,
11 minutes ago. At that moment, our night manager walked by during his final sweep of the store, saw the customer and said, "Ma'am, you need to go to checkout. We're closed." "I just need a few more things, but this rude girl won't go check the back for something for me." "Ma'am, we're closed, and even if we weren't, we
I
have
hate
instructions
customers
for
that
electrical
stay
work
after
in the back
closing.
right now. So for
Like,
the
not like
safety of our
first.
workers,
They're
we're
just
not allowed to
annoying.
go back there. Now, I need you to go to the last register and check out because we're
Like-
closed." "But
I don't care if they, like,
things, and
get
I don't
the-
have to come back tomorrow."
I don't know.
It's currently 8:13, and our registers automatically shut off at 8:15. Once they shut off, they can't be turned on until tomorrow morning. So, unless you start your
Here, get
transaction
on
in
the,
the next 2
get on the,
minutes, you're
Inkley.
gonna have to come back another day anyway. The woman huffed and said, "Fine, but I can't believe how rude you people are. She was
Fine.
listening to music when I first came up to her.
Who
I can't
cares?
believe you allow that sort of behavior."
Who cares? People are sitting for like hours and hours and hours on end, and at least when they have really listen to music, at least they can actually, get stuff done and be happy.
"Ma'am, we're closed. You have 1 minute to get
Can you
to
see
the
a little
front
melon on
checkout,
top of the
or
mountain?
I'm going to refuse to
Look at
serve
it.
you."
It's just sitting lonely.
The woman stormed off towards the last open register while the manager followed behind her.
There's a lot of metal on this mountain. Hey! Level 40, level 16, and level... I think 2 level 40s. Get ready.
And I went back to stocking shampoo.
Are you ready for a lot?
listening to music.
Look how much metal's on this
That was
mountain.
r/entitled parent.
This is awesome. I've mined this metal out, by the way. I mined a little bit. Hit these metal notes like I hit my wife. Wait, what? Oh, yeah. 2. Yeah, I want to know where he's... Well, that's ironic. Dun da 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 da. Oh my god, there's so much obby. Hey! Okay. Drop your, drop the, anything that's not metal, and after you... No, don't touch it! Do it with the ankly. You don't know why? Because not only will the ankly get the bonus, you're gonna get the bonus. And drop... Yeah, all you gotta do is just walk right back on it. Then you get an XP bonus. Otter. It's gonna tell you facts about the otter. It's lore.
And if you like this content,
Let my son assault you.
Oh, sorry, guys. The short it didn't make it in time. I'm sorry.
welcome to r/.
This lady stapling pieces of paper.
Where an entitled mother argues that 14-year-old girls deserve to be sexually assaulted.
Wow! Oh god!
16 years
We're in
old,
for a
I'm
treat.
17, and my sister is 14.
Holy shit! Okay, we are... Oh, that's a step in a very bad direction. Okay, I should be able to clown on this person without any remorse. Oh. Here, keep going. There's one. There's one right there. Hippity hoppity, now give me my obby because it's my property. You know what this? Hey, stop hitting. I don't think you can friendly fire. I think I disabled that. I would say, so, in Russian, so, you've chosen death.
A single dad who's ex-military and who firmly believes that if someone starts a fight with you, then you should end it. I attend a pretty swanky boarding school in the UK, and there's plenty of entitled mothers.
Whoa,
and
there's
kids
two.
running around. They're the rich and don't realize they're a bit dense sort of people. Me and my sister are in separate boarding houses, but we see each other most days. I love my sister, and I often feel the need to.
Do you see all that shine?
In the boarding house next to mine, there's this
Yep.
entitled kid.
Dude, this is a
He's
lot.
17 years old and a very unpleasant young lad. He's not particularly bright as a student, but he's in the first team for rugby and is generally quite athletic. He's
I'm
been
gonna
known to be
RTB.
a bully for a while now, but he also seems to have a darker side, and many girls have accused him of making creepy comments.
I'm sorry, but can we get over the fact that my ass is carrying literally like what, 4 parachutes? Oh, there's like I see 5 within like or 6 actually. Dude, this mountain, it feels like it's better than both of them combined. Holy crap.
And openly threatening them. Around the start of October, our drama class began to do casting for a high school musical. My sister is absolutely obsessed with it for some reason. So, me being a good brother and one of the favorite drama students, I managed to get my sister a role as a backup dancer, and she was really happy.
Oh, well, here.
The title kid
Okay. Oh, whatever. Oops. Continue walking that direction. Stupid copies drew my... Hey, yeah, right. Okay, quote, "The Frozen Tooth is a large mountain in the northeast with extremely high quantities of the crystal deposits at its ground. The summit's as well as good as a source of obsidian. However, caution is advised while attempting to ascend. The mountain is extremely steep and it's quite easy to trip and fall. It also contains high volumes of metal near the summit." Oh, yeah, that's correct. When I say there's a lot of metal... Oh. How'd you even get up there? You crawling, yeah. Dude, there's a lot of stuff on this ankylosaur, I can tell. I got scared there. I thought my T-Rex was on a fire, but it was passionately hugging the boat. I hate when people get on your ass over the stupidest little things. It's annoying. Like, dude, go away. You are not wanted in this situation.
No problem, right? Wrong. My sister told me in the first 2 days that he was already getting creepy with her and some of the younger backup dancers. I talked with my girlfriend about it, and I decided the next day that I would...
why is there so many berries?
The next day, when I went into the drama room, I clearly heard him say something that I will not repeat here. I walked up to him, already not in a fantastic mood, and said something along the lines of, "Don't you dare say that to my sister or any of the girls here. You understand?" This dude replies, "Or what?" This next part, I clearly didn't think through properly, but I said, "Well, I could either knock your lights out or get you kicked out of the play and the rugby team with what I just heard you say." Now, I'm 6'0", 135 pounds, and I'm by no means weak. But this guy is easily 6'3" and like 170 to 190 pounds, but nevertheless, he grunts some agreement out.
Why did you come here?
To meet my wife. I'll tell you how beautiful you look.
Zooming out and buggers off. I thought nothing of
Hey,
it,
when I
and
say
the
drop the
bring on
berries,
Friday.